Hello, welcome from Williams, Arizona. We are the Lost Canyon Food Service team, and we're here to show you how to prepare a delicious meal to enjoy together. Today I'm going to show you how to make pasta aglio e olio, which means pasta with garlic and oil. It's a simple dish, but it's quite delicious. First, we need to bring some heavily salted water to a boil. While the water is boiling, we'll prepare our ingredients. First, we need to peel and thinly slice our garlic. We'll chop off the end of the garlic, and then squeeze it out of the husk. Next, we need to finely chop our parsley. This is Italian flat leaf parsley, which has a little more flavor than the frilly stuff that's mostly used for garnish. But first, we need to separate out any woody stems and any gross wilted parts. This is about one bunch of parsley, and then finely chop it. Gathering it together as you need. Next, we're going to cut a lemon in half. We need about a half a lemon's worth of juice. First, we're going to roll it on the cutting board, applying some pressure to it to get the juices flowing. And then, pay attention to this part, cut the lemon in half. Next, we're going to move over to the stove and do some cooking. Once your water is boiling, we're going to add the noodles. I'm using spaghetti for this one, but you can use linguine as well. Just follow the directions on the package. And don't forget to set a timer. It's okay if they stick out a little bit. As it boils, they'll drop down into the pot. Over medium-high heat, we're going to begin by sauteing the garlic in oil. Make sure to preheat your pan before starting. We're going to add about a good amount of oil. It is called garlic and oil dish. Once that's good and shimmering, we're going to add our garlic in. You should hear it sizzle. This is pretty quick, so you don't want to walk away. Keep an eye on it. Keep the garlic moving around. You want it to brown slightly. Once it does begin to brown, we're going to cut the heat and add the red pepper flakes. You can do a little bit less red pepper flakes if you don't like things quite as spicy, but in no ways is this a spicy dish. You can see the thinner pieces are starting to brown, so we're going to cut the heat off and add the red pepper flakes and keep it moving around. Pepper. Again, still moving it. Removing it from the heat if you have an electric stove. And periodically stir your noodles. I have a 3-year-old son at home, and for him I prepare just some buttered noodles rather than the garlic and the green stuff, because he doesn't really like that as much. The pasta is about to finish, so we're going to test it and see if it's ready to go. Give it a little stir, pull a couple noodles out, and give it a taste. Come on, turn off the heat. Get a strainer. We want to reserve some of the pasta water for the oil and garlic sauce over there. So you pull your noodles out and drain them into a bowl. Or alternatively, very carefully scoop out a little bit of the water and pour the rest down the sink. There's a lot of good starch from the pasta in this pot, which will help emulsify and thicken up the sauce a little bit. Now we're going to turn the heat back on low, pour our noodles in. Move them around a bit. At this point, we're going to cut the heat off and add in our parsley. Stir that in. The residual heat will just help wake that parsley up a little bit, really brighten it up. We're going to take it to the table or to your counter or whatever and hit it with a bit of lemon. Be careful not to get any seeds in there. So really just freshen it up. Then you're ready to plate it. If you want to be really fancy, you can use a carving fork and twirl it up into a little nest.
Hi, I'm Debbie and I'll be showing you the side dishes today. First off, we're going to start with some roasted broccoli. But don't worry, if broccoli is not your favorite, you can definitely use this same concept and apply it to another type of vegetable, say green beans, squash, or even some peppers. So the first thing we're gonna do is give our broccoli a rinse. I've already rinsed this off just to make sure it's clean, ready to go. Depending on how much of the stem you would like, you can decide where to cut off. So I like to cut maybe about this much of the stem, just a little bit, and then I like to keep a good bit. If you don't particularly like the stem of the broccoli, you can cut much closer to the floret, but I like to leave a little bit, and then I am going to just kind of slice up and kind of go through and make them a little closer to some bite-sized pieces. And we're gonna just kind of keep rolling around and doing this all the way through so that you end up with pretty similar sized florets. And now that we've cut all of our broccoli, we're gonna go ahead and move it onto the sheet pan or oven tray that you have prepared and ready to go. Obviously there's a ton of room on here. When you're roasting vegetables, you'll want to spread it out, but I'm going to keep it close together while I add a drizzle of olive oil. You can do as much or as little as you would like, but I'd say give it a good tablespoon or two just to make sure that you're getting enough of that oil in there. And then we're going to take a pinch or so of salt and sprinkle it over the top, maybe another little one. And then depending on how much you like black pepper, we'll give a little sprinkle of that as well. And then we're gonna just use our hands and kind of toss it all together, making sure that the little florets of broccoli are covered with the oil, salt, and pepper. And then we will end up spreading these out so they have plenty of room to roast and we can get that nice brown golden caramelization goodness on there when we throw them in the oven. All right, and now that we have our broccoli seasoned, oiled, and ready to go, I have preheated the oven to 350 degrees. We're gonna go ahead and add the broccoli in for about 20 minutes. So we'll pull this just right in the middle carefully, set a timer, and meanwhile, go make our cheesy bread. All right, now that we've got our broccoli in the oven, we're gonna go ahead and prep this super easy cheesy garlic bread. Now, you can of course make garlic bread from a frozen box, which is no shame. I love some Texas toast. But this is also a super easy recipe that you can throw together. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is start with this garlic clove that I've got. It's probably medium to large size. If you don't love garlic, you can also leave this out. I love garlic, so we're gonna smash this piece down with the knife just to get that outside kind of chewy, filmy part off of it. And then I'm gonna take the clove and actually smash that further. And then, now that it's a little bit flattened out, I'm just gonna mince it into some small pieces. All right, we're gonna set the olive oil and garlic aside, and then we're gonna go ahead and cut our crusty loaf of bread up. You can use whatever kind of bread you've got available to you. I just bought a sourdough loaf from our local Williams Safeway. But what I'm gonna do is just take a serrated knife. If you have one, these work great, but any knife will probably work. And just give it a good slice down the side. However thick or thin you like it. I like it probably about an inch, maybe a little less than an inch thick. But we're gonna put the garlic oil and cheese all over this once we have sliced it up. All right, and our final step, once we've got the garlic and oil on top of each slice of bread that we're gonna toast, we're gonna grab our shredded mozzarella. You can also mix and match with whatever you've got and whatever you like. But I'm just gonna go ahead and sprinkle a little bit on each piece of bread. Obviously, the more you love cheese, the more you can add. Just know that any cheese that spills over onto the pan is definitely going to bake onto that pan and may or may not be difficult to clean off later. So keep that in mind, but get enough cheese on each of those slices and spread it out, and then we are going to take it back over to the oven. All right, after about 15 to 20 minutes, go ahead and check on your broccoli. I'm gonna see how ours is looking in here. Oh, perfect. The broccoli is nice and a little bit brown. You don't want it maybe too brown, but you definitely want a little bit of that caramelization along the side. Smells delicious. You can also check for whatever softness of broccoli you like as well. Since your oven is already at 350 degrees for the broccoli, you can also just go ahead and throw this cheesy bread in the oven. It's probably going to be about 5 to 10 minutes depending on how hot your oven is, and we're just going to kind of keep an eye on it until the cheese is nice and melted and maybe a little golden brown on the outside.
Hi, my name is Hannah, and this evening I'm going to be showing you how to make a big cookie. Today we're going to be using a KitchenAid, but if you don't have one, it's okay. You can use a hand mixer. Just make sure that your bowl has wide enough edges so that when you go down to mix things, it doesn't fly out of the bowl. So I've measured out all my ingredients just for my convenience, but you can go ahead and just follow along with the recipe. So the recipe calls that we start with our butter and both our white sugar and our brown sugar. So we're going to go ahead and put those into the mixing bowl. And then we will turn the mixer on. And we're going to cream our sugars and butter together. You want to make sure it is a soft consistency. That way everything is combined. You don't want any chunks in there. And it's okay to keep turning it up a level each time. Alright, so we'll turn the mixer on to about the third speed and get the eggs and the vanilla mixed in with our sugars and butter. And again, just keep going up on speed if you need to. And make sure everything gets mixed in. Alright, so while it's mixing, sometimes the ingredients like to get stuck on the outside of the bowl. So what we want to do is turn our mixer off. That way we don't get our hands caught. And push all the ingredients down off the side of the bowl. And that way, we can turn the mixer back on and everything gets mixed in correctly. After our eggs and sugars and vanilla are mixed in, we're going to put in our flour. So that's the next step, but make sure you turn the mixer off before you put the flour in. We're going to add our flour in, turn our mixer on with the first speed, and just slowly start moving up your speed. Alright, so now we're going to add our baking soda and salt, and chips. We'll turn the mixer back on to about the second speed. Again, you can always move it up, mix everything in. And then once you're combined, you're going to turn the mixer off. Alright, this is what your dough should look like when all of the ingredients are combined well. Alright, so when your dough is done, we're going to use a cake pan. We recommend spraying your cake pan. That way, It comes out clean and easier to wash, but you don't have to spray it if you don't have spray. What you're gonna do is put the cookie dough in and start mushing it down. All right, we're gonna push our cookie dough in. That way it's all the way around the pan, and you wanna make sure that it's nice and evenly flat. And it's okay if some parts are a little thicker than others. I like it to be a little raw sometimes. It's just ooey and gooey that way. Remember, before you start your cookie dough, to preheat your oven to 350. Once it's preheated, you can put your big cookie in the oven and set a timer for 20 minutes. Alright, when your cookie's done, it should look like this. It should have a brown top on it, and it should be brown on the bottom. And then if you want to, you get a big scoop of ice cream, plop it on top.